So I'm from Men's Wearhouse. I'm here to talk about how we've partnered with CQuotient to drive revenue through what we're calling personalized retailing. And as I said, my name is Adam Harris. I'm the Director of Innovation at Men's Wearhouse. This is Ramakrishnan, who's the founder and CEO of CQuotient. A little bit of history about Men's Wearhouse. If you're not familiar, we were founded about 40 years ago. We have over 1,100 stores worldwide, which is encompasses 7 different brands, including MW Tux, Moore's Clothing for Men, K&G Fashion Superstore, and Joseph Abood. We're built on a guarantee, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, but what we really like to do is focus all of our efforts on what we call world-class customer service. So if we could run the video, this is just going to show you a little bit about what we're all about.
I think the story of the Men's Wearhouse is a story of customer service. And if you're going to have great customer service, you have to have employees who want to provide that service. You'll be pleased to know that the sport coat I have on, as all my clothes, was purchased at the Men's Wearhouse.
I've been to stores closer to my house where you walk in and they don't even acknowledge you. Here they come up to you and, they greet you.
How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Who can I help you with?
I've got to go to a wedding.
The experience was so different that I've never shopped anywhere else. I mean, it is just a different level of customer service.
Give you a couple of looks here. When you spend time with the customer, you want to make sure you're listening to them, you're giving them the colors they want, all of these things. I might spend an hour with a customer, so you can't really put a price on that. What do you have in your wardrobe now?
What, in terms of suits?
Yeah.
I've got a Hugo Boss, I've got a couple Calvin.
We create an experience unlike anywhere else in our stores. That is the primary reason why customers continue to shop at the Men's Wearhouse.
We measure them so we know what sizes we're dealing with. It also gives us information that we can pass on to our team members early on in the sales process.
Yeah. Come on over here, my friend. 17.5, 35.
So now he just kind of, as he walked past Jose, he gave him the shirt size. And now we're pulling together shirts, ties. What we call this is a concept. Everybody in the store that's available helps assist in the selling process.
Okay, let's go over here and look at some shirts and ties.
Selling with soul is your ability to go beyond the customer initial request.
That's a nice shirt.
And satisfy his true need.
Yeah, I like that shirt a lot.
And if I do all that, I enrich the experience.
I thought this would be good with
Oh, yeah.
browns. Or the black suit, actually.
Black suit, too.
Yeah.
I like this one.
Okay.
So as you can see, we have a very high-touch, very personalized shopping experience. If anyone has been to a Men's Wearhouse, you walk in the door and you're immediately greeted by one of our employees who's very knowledgeable about the product, about style, about fit, about color. And we want to take that ideal and we want to expand it to every single touch point, anywhere that one of our customers might be. So these are challenging times, as everybody knows. Customers aren't spending like they used to. The share of wallet is increasing. Old marketing methods are less effective. And the touch points that consumers are being spoken to are multiplying rapidly. Prices are becoming transparent, and deals are very pervasive. And of course, everybody wants a very slick experience no matter where they are. And on top of that, we have Amazon, who seems to know as much potentially information about our customers as we do. But with challenge comes opportunity, and I'm going to read this quote from Susan Neal, who's our EVP of e-business marketing and digital technology. And Susan said that consumers are more interconnected, empowered, and demanding than ever. They expect that the brands they frequent will understand them better than they do themselves. That's both a challenge and an opportunity for us. So to seize this opportunity, we need data. And luckily, we've got a ton of it, like I imagine a lot of you do. We've got transaction data from all of our stores. We have a rich website where we can track user experience. And we have a very vibrant loyalty program. All of this is the data that we need that we can start to personalize those messages. But to use that data and personalize, we need to break it up over a number of different categories. There's product specifics, what a customer is looking for, what size, what color, what fit, just like they would be in a store. There's relevant offers that we think could get them to purchase an extra item or come in for an incremental transaction. And then, of course, there's other relevant content that we could potentially throw at them. And what we want to do is be able to gather all of this information, everything we know about them, and hit them at the various touch points, truly an omni-channel experience. But we needed help. While we see ourselves as the expert in men's retail and men's fashion, we're not data scientists. And so we've partnered with CQuotient, who's helped us really build this program, get it off the ground, and drive revenue. And so, Rama, if you want to take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Adam. You know, some speakers need no introduction. I, on the other hand, need it too. You know, when we set out on this journey, the personalized retailing journey with the Men's Warehouse, the first question we had to answer was, where do we start? It's a large, complicated business. There are many places where you could start. But we decided to start with email. Email because, you know, like for many, if not most of you, it's a huge source of revenue and traffic for the business, store and web. And as importantly, it's really easy in email to figure out if infusing personalization into the program has any incremental benefit on engagement and financials or not. So we started with email. And within email, we decided to go and try to personalize broadcast emails. The Men's Warehouse has a very robust email program. They do triggers. They do, you know, several broadcast emails in a given week to millions of subscribers. And they knew from their experience with triggered emails that the metrics are good. And the metrics are good because triggered emails, by definition, are relevant to the people receiving them, and they are timely. So the challenge was, we have all these millions of people getting broadcast emails several times a week. If we could infuse personalization into those emails, given that the broadcast email program has a lion's share of revenue from the email programs overall, wouldn't that be great? Because if you could do that, it would completely move the needle for the business. But there is one small problem with personalizing your broadcast email. And that problem is, most of the people, most of the subscribers in your email file, you don't really know a lot about them. You have very little signal about these individuals. You know, we worked with a number of retailers, and we see this repeatedly, particularly retailers who are not in the grocery or drugstore verticals. If you look at the composition of the email file, you find that the average person, average customer has, you know, shops between 1 and 2 times a year. Very often, more than half the customers in your file have shopped at least just once in the last 12 months. And many of them, if not most of them, have not even been to your site recently. They have not engaged with you recently. So overall, the amount of data you have about the majority of the people in the email file is actually very meager, very scant. So the question becomes, if you know so little about these people, how on earth are you going to personalize an email to them? Because our goal is to personalize to everybody on the email list. So here, let's take a typical customer. Let's call him Dan. He shopped last July. He bought the shirt and this tie last July. You know, we're standing here today, and we want to send him an email tomorrow, March 6th. So based on what we know about him, we want to figure out how to personalize an email that's going out tomorrow to Dan. On the surface, it doesn't sound like we have a ton of data to work with. There's not a lot of signal. There's a lot of material we have about Dan to figure out how to personalize. But as it turns out, if you dig deeper, you get signal. What we have found repeatedly is that the data that retailers already have at their disposal, including the Men's Warehouse, if you dig deeper, you find a lot of very interesting and valuable clues about what customers want, what they don't want. These clues are there, but it takes work to, you know, find the clues, find these nuggets, pull them out, and put them to use. And what sort of clues am I talking about? So for the Men's Warehouse, you know, we took weblogs. And you know, what we find repeatedly is that weblogs are very useful for web analytics reporting, but we find that they are not as used as much to really understand for every customer what they like and what they don't like. You know, there are valuable clues as to what kind of brands they are searching for. There are clues about are they clearance-seeking customers? Are they looking for a deal? Do they come to the clearance section every single time? You know, what kind of product categories do they like? You know, do they spend an unusual amount of time in browsing or looking at certain price ranges, and how does it change by product category? Are they attracted to certain product attributes sort of disproportionately more than other customers? All these clues, and I'm just scratching the surface here, all these clues are truly lurking in your data, and you can pull them out. And it's not just for weblogs. If you go to email logs, the same situation. You can figure out what sort of calls to action a particular customer gets drawn into. What do they click on? what sort of device are they using to open your email? Do they first open on an iPhone and then they sort of triage it, then open it on a desktop later on? What kind of subject lines, what sort of concepts in the subject line get them to open the email in the first place? And do they actually engage with you enough to scroll all the way to the bottom? Do they actually engage with you below the fold? All these clues are sitting right there in your email logs, and you can pull them out if you look at it. And we do the same thing with product descriptions as well. In our experience, if I were to single out one source of data, which I believe everyone has, but for some reason lives far below its potential, it's just not used at all, it's product descriptions on the website. These descriptions are lovingly created by merchandising marketing teams because they're customer-facing descriptions. And we find that these descriptions are chock full of really interesting product attribute data. In this example, this shirt is described as made of luxurious Egyptian cotton. Luxurious Egyptian cotton, that's a very interesting concept. It has a spread collar. That's another interesting concept. The funny thing is, these attributes of these products, they are not to be found anywhere else in your product catalog or in your product tables. They are lurking in these free text descriptions of the product that's part of your website. So what we do is we run text mining algorithms to go and process all this data, this textual data, extract all these product attributes. And the reason we do that is if customer Dan buys this particular shirt, we know more than just the fact that he bought a shirt, product ID 2349. We actually know that maybe he has an affinity for spread collars. Maybe he has an affinity for Egyptian cotton. And that extra signal gives us a little bit more edge to figure out what he is going to find interesting when he gets an email. And the same is true for product reviews as well. The reviews are very interesting because they embody the voice of the customer as opposed to the voice of the merchant. And customers describe products using certain attributes that are often not even found in the product description. And we find that to be very useful. And we run text mining on that as well to pull out what we think of for sort of product attributes and then use that along with descriptions to sort of build out a full picture. And there are many other things like this that we do with the data and that we have done for the Men's Warehouse. But to step back, we started with this seemingly sort of simple surface description of what a person bought. And we went all the way to the end where we know about their brand preferences, price point affinities, category affinities, and a whole bunch of other stuff based on just looking at the data a little bit more carefully on data that you already have. And when we do this for every customer. And then we connect customers who have similar tastes. So if Adam and I, if we both have an affinity for spread collar shirts, we will have, there'll be a link between the two of us in the database. And this is very important because, think about what I said earlier, right? The average customer may have shopped 1 to 2 times a year. So the chances are that even if Adam and I are both customers of the Men's Warehouse, we may not have any product purchases in common. But if you go up one level of abstraction to attributes, you may find that we both may actually have an affinity for spread collar. We may have an affinity for pinstripes. And that allows us to sort of connect the dots much more powerfully than you would do by just saying, well, we both bought product ID 23, Adam bought 49, I'm going to recommend 49 to Rama, without any insight into why Rama would find that interesting. So we build this sort of taste network or a taste graph. And then the nice thing about this way of looking at the world is when any customer comes and interacts with you, right? Let's say, this customer comes in and buys something. Sure, your knowledge of that customer has obviously gone up because you know more about that customer. But all the customers who share an affinity or a taste with that customer, the information for all of them has gotten sharper, has gotten better resolution now because of what this one customer did. Sort of the effect any one customer interacts with you, it sort of ripples out through this network and updates everybody's information, which means even if the other people have not shopped with you or engaged with you recently, when you send them an email tomorrow, you are that much more smarter and sharper in what you can tell them because you understood them just a little bit better than you did before this customer walked in. So, all this information, all this processing is finally, we put it to work with programs like these. So here is a program where it's sent out to millions of customers, basically the whole list. For every customer, it's a product-centric email where you pick products that every individual will find really interesting and relevant. from across the entire catalog based on everything we know about them, offline and online behavior. And there is some guidance from the merchandising team as to what can be shown, what cannot be shown, and what sort of products to emphasize. But beyond that, it's truly sort of one-to-one, chosen for each customer. And the interesting thing here is, to get to this level of one-to-one personalization for people for whom you don't really have much data, the taste network that I talked about really becomes very effective for personalizing to all these people. And I've been in analytics for a very long time, and I can tell you that creating these sort of dynamic profiles for millions of customers, connecting similar customers together, and keeping this information up to date in real time, that wasn't possible even as recently as 5 years ago. But it's possible and economical now, and which is why we're excited about doing this for the Men's Wearhouse. And this program, it just, as far as Men's Wearhouse is concerned, it's just one campaign. But the millions of people who got these emails, for every individual, it's a different email. But it's all sent out as one campaign. So paradoxically, it's even easier to execute than having, say, 5 segments that you send emails to. You really just send one email. But you actually jump all the way, you leapfrog segmentation all the way to a true one-to-one email experience by doing it this way. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is, only when the email is opened, we decide what to show that individual. So if Adam receives an email and he opens it, only at the time he opens it, we say, oh, Adam is opening an email. Based on everything we know about Adam and people like him up to this point in time, all right, these are the 6 things we're going to show him. These are the 3 things we're going to show him. Make sure it's in stock, make sure it satisfies all the business rules that the merchandising team has laid down. Only at that moment, it's decided what to show him. This is what enables the execution to be so easy, because literally you hit send, you send one big campaign, and all intents and purposes, it feels like a broadcast email, but then every email is different at the time of open. What kind of performance did we see with this sort of program? Let me turn it back to Adam to talk about the results.
Thanks. Yeah, so just to touch on this, Men's Wearhouse has millions and millions of shoppers. And when they set foot in that door, it's a very unique, personalized, high-touch experience. And we're speaking to them one-to-one. And what we're trying to do is replicate that into the various channels and various touch points. And like Rama said, the results have been really impressive so far. We've had 40% better engagement, as well as a significant lift in revenue when we're looking at email. And we actually, we used a control, which was our very smart, very seasoned merchants, and said, put together your best campaigns, your best products, and let's see what we can do. And using the data and using the data science from CQuotient, these were the results that we produced. The execution was extremely easy. Let's say we're sending an email, a story about a versatile suit, taking it from day to night. We can very easily add an HTML snippet and attach it to the bottom. Like Rama said, the minute it's open, it populates with the relevant information that we want to tell that individual consumer. We want to take this beyond email. Email really is just the beginning. We want to take this data to influence and change the web experience on e-commerce. And then to completely kind of close the loop in the shopping experience, we want to bring that in-store to our employees. We've recently launched a handful of in-store apps on mobile devices that are aimed at improving productivity, improving efficiency, and ultimately maximizing sales. And if this information is at our employees' fingertips, they can better sell to that customer. They can provide an even richer experience by knowing more information about them. So the key takeaways, just to wrap it up, personalized retailing is a huge opportunity for us. And we've started with email, which we found to be a very successful place to start. Really, it's algorithms that work for triggered emails don't necessarily work for the full list. We need better science. And the execution is easy. And with the right partners, as Rama said, really, it's just one campaign. It just happens to have millions of different unique iterations. So that's it. I know everyone's anxious to get out of here, but if there's any questions, we're happy to take them. Yes.
On our way.
Oh, sorry.
Be there in 1 second with the mic.
Sorry if you said this, but what tech was powering that email solution? The tech behind it, like
What tech was
what
covering?
technology platform? Was there a platform? Was it your platform? Was it a proprietary platform or a third party?
So it was the CQuotient platform that figures out what to say. So when the email is opened, what gets rendered,
So it's
that
yours.
decision is made by CQuotient.
Okay.
We still continue to work with the Men's Warehouse ESP. That relationship doesn't change because we plug into any ESP the retailer uses.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
What happens if the customer opens the email, sees the product they like, then just mark it as unread and come back to it a couple days? Is it the same product or is it an updated product? And how are you guys dealing with that?
So when an email is first opened, we decide at the time of open what to show them. If that exact same email is reopened, they will see the same thing. But if a new email comes along and they open it, it'll be different. And that email will be based on up to the second activity. Earlier iterations of it, we actually had, every time you open the email, even if it's an old email that you have opened before, we would show more dynamically changing content. But Gmail, as you folks know, introduced image caching a few months ago. So to make it consistent across all the ISPs, we freeze the content at the time of first open. Thank you.
Question back there. Yeah.
On our way.
What length of customer history did you initially load the systems with? What kind of a look-back period did you use for your initial startup?
So how much data on customers did we use? Was that the question?
Yeah, as far as the length of time for
Oh.
the look-back period for initial kickoff and then for your activity, does it vary by customer based on their interaction with Men's Warehouse, or is it kind of a static thing that you cycle through?
So I'll answer what I think I heard. The audio is actually quite bad for the questions. So in terms of the length of data, amount of data we used, so for transaction data, we would work with 2 years of data at the very beginning. At least a year, but 2 is ideal because it helps us handle seasonality more effectively. For weblog data, we would literally just get it turned on, and after a month, that's enough of weblog activity for us to get going. Obviously, more the better. And the same is true for email logs as well. And we would actually directly get product descriptions and reviews off the site. We will just scrape it off the site directly. And these are the sort of the key elements that go into the engine. I think there's a question here.
I'm just curious, what kind of reporting are you looking at since there's a million different versions of the email? How do you know what image or what product your subscribers clicked on and which was performing the best?
Could you say that again, please?
Yeah. Since there's a million versions of the email, what kind of reporting are you looking at to know what image, what product was clicked on the most?
Yeah. So the way we measured incrementality was you basically have 2 campaigns. There is a personalized campaign, which is one campaign which has got millions of variations on it. And then there's an unpersonalized campaign where what the products that are shown are essentially products that are handpicked by the merchandising team to be the ones that they thought would be the most relevant. But that same email would go to everybody in the control group. So you run these 2 campaigns, and then you just look at the ESP reporting to figure out what is the difference in engagement and what's the difference in revenue demand per name and things like conversions, so on and so forth. So it's 2 campaigns, test and control, measured side by side. We can talk more offline if I didn't quite answer your question.
All right, and that's all that we have time for.
Great.
Thank you
Thank you very
both.
much.
Thanks.